Hey guys, my name is TSM Treatz, and today I'm going to show you how to play Yuumi. Yuumi is a very special champion because it involves a lot of different playstyles. You can play her as an enchanter, or as a follow-up engage, or just as a playmaking support, so that makes her very special, because usually like a champion like Rakan is often just engage, but Yuumi can play different styles depending on the game, so that's what makes her really fun to play. Yuumi's passive is probably the hardest part of her kit, because if you utilize your passive well, you get constant uptime on your shield in team T-fights and in lane as well. So you want to make sure that you can proc your passive as much as possible without being in risk of getting hit by spells which would knock you out of your W. So you want to time your passive when the enemy big cooldown spells are down, so you can quickly jump in and then jump out, proc your passive and then jump in again. Shooting your Q through the wall makes it way harder for the enemy to spot because of the vision that they don't have inside the wall, and also just the terrain makes it harder to see. So if you can throw your Q inside walls to hit enemies, that's a good way to get a sneak shot in. As Yuumi, one easy way to use your Q is just to throw it flat out, right? But sometimes if you don't have the necessary range, you can jump to closer allies to extend the Q range. So for example, you can jump to this ally and then you hit it. Or you can throw it out and then jump like this, and you can also just try to maneuver it around like enemy champions depending on who you want to hit. So you have to understand the extended range of your Q and how to abuse it against your enemies. Also, sometimes as Yuumi, you want to make use of the extra damage when it's a longer range Q, and if you don't want to hit the first enemy in front of you, so you have to maneuver it around. Like let's say I want to hit this guy, then I would jump inside, throw my Q, maneuver it around and hit him like that. Instead of just throwing like this, I will not get the necessary range. So you have to try to maneuver it around the target. Generally, when you play Yuumi, you want to stay attached to people, because it reduces your threat of being one-shot, because you have very low amount of health and armor. So if you have any kind of threat on you, you want to stay attached to someone. But if there's no threat, or if you and your ally can get higher DPS if you're using your auto attacks, then staying detached is also a good option. In this clip, you can see how you can use your W to follow dashes and other spells that makes you fly further with your teammate. So in this fight, I'm stuck to Brandini right now, but I want to follow my AD carry tactical here, so I jump and he flashes an E over, so we can chase this person, but unfortunately we don't get them, but it's a good idea to do. You have to be careful when you're playing Yuumi, so you don't take a lot of extra tower aggro, because if you're harassing under tower and you still jump inside your ally, you'll still take the tower shot. So if I'm trying to hit the tower, let's say, and my ally's over here, you can walk up and bait the hook, and then you jump inside your ally, right? So if your ally is basing and you want to join their base, you can walk up and annoy the enemy, either with your Q or auto attacks, or you can stay inside of them and throw your Q, and they think that you're not recalling because you're inside the bush and they can't really see if you're attached or detached to someone. So if you're staying like this and you just throw your Q, they won't know if you're recalling with a person or if you're just poking like normal. When you're playing team fights as Yuumi, you generally want to stay inside the highest threat target of the enemy team. So usually that will be your mid or AD carry, but it's also useful to stay inside someone who has a lot of engage, so you can follow up with your ulti and jump inside them and get a better angle on your ulti. One thing you can think about when you're using your E is to use it on the lowest health target, because the heal is increased. So if one teammate has, like me, around 40% or 30%, and this is full or like 90% health, then it's more useful for me to use it on myself, because if I stay in the fight and get a larger heal, it's more beneficial for my teammates. Yuumi's ulti doesn't have a very long cooldown, and since you're running presses of mine as well, you get a lot of cooldown back on your ult, so you should not be scared to tell your team to engage when your ult is up. So if you see a good angle, like for example I can jump on this person and ult these champions, then you should tell your team that you can do it and just look for the opportunity, you know? Sometimes even when you think your ult might not hit, you can still clip people on the edge of it. So try to either reposition yourself, like if I hit only these 3 champions, I can jump out of my ally and reposition myself so I hit more people and get more routes in the fight. Your teammates can not always give you the perfect angle, so if you start the fight outside and you want to get a better ult angle, You can start your ult by throwing it out and then reposition yourself with either your ally or yourself if you're not in danger, so you can get more roots in the fight. So I'm only hitting 1 here, I'm hitting 3 there, but here I'm hitting all 4. So you have to be cautious of your positioning so you can hit as many roots as possible. One important tip to note when using ult is that you can use your E while you're ulting. It's the only spell you can use together with your summer spells and redemption. So remember to use that when you want to get a better ult angle. Like if I'm walking this slow, I'm very slow champion because I don't have boots. But if I use my E, I can get more movement speed and reposition faster in the fight. And also don't be scared to use your redemption or summoner heal if you need to. A good way to think about your ult as Yuumi in teamfights is that your teammates help you to get into the position, but they cannot always stay in that position. So if I get a good ult angle but my teammate moves away, you can also just jump out yourself and then jump back to him later if you need to. Yuumi has very high lane pressure because of her passive and her Q, so you want to make use of your cooldowns as much as you can. She doesn't really struggle with mana problems because of the passive, which gives her a lot of mana back, and also her E gives her a lot of sustain, so you should look to spam your Q on cooldown almost, and you should look for your passive whenever it's up. But make sure you don't throw yourself in bad situations where you can die just to get your passive, because that's not worth it. Yuumi is really good in 2v2s because of her extra healing from her E when her ally is low HP, so you can bait a lot of fights with your double defensive summoner spells and her E to win favorable trades for yourself and win the all-in. I would say that Yuumi tower dives well with allies that can tank because she has a lot of heal from both the summoner spell and her E and her passive as well. So she tower dives well with her allies, but alone she's not very useful. The best AD carries to match with Yuumi are AD carries that have a lot of dual potential and wave clear. So Ezreal, Lucian and Sivir are my top 3 champions. But in solo queue you could also play with something like Twitch, which gives a lot of stealth opportunities, because if Yuumi is attached to a stealth champion, you will not see Yuumi either. In teamfights, landing your Q is pretty important because it gives you more healing on your Athenes. So if you're just sitting aside your ally and using your E like this, you're not going to be very useful. But if you're looking for good ult angles and Qs so you can use more Athenes healing, then it gives you way more pressure in the fight in general. You have to be a bit more careful of trying to proc your passive in teamfights because there are more enemies around you. So you want to make sure that you can only jump out when it's actually safe and you don't put yourself at risk. So you can use your spells, all of them, and if you see that there's an opportunity for you to jump out without getting caught, you can jump out, proc your passive and jump in fast. My personal preference playing Yuumi, I go Arcane Comet because it gives her a lot of lane pressure and also gives you more healing on your Athenes because of the damage from it. And Mana Flow just for extra mana regen. Transcendence is really good because you build a lot of CDR and in late game you get a lot of extra AP from it. And then Scorch just for the added lane pressure. It adds up to a lot of damage over the game. And then my favorite second tree is Precision, where I go Presence of Mind and Cut Down. Presence of Mind is really good because your ult is already on a fairly short cooldown, but with Presence of Mind you get so much cooldown back in the fight and you can almost have 2 ults up in each fight. And Cut Down is insanely strong in Yuumi because of her low base health and you get a lot of value from the rune itself. The second most popular option is going for Airy instead of Comet, which gives you more procs on your Ardent Sensor, because if you jump out and attach again with your passive up, then you get the Airy effect on your ally, which in turn gives them Ardent Sensor. So it's a lot more defensive and utility based, while Arcane Comet is more for the pressure of the champion itself and more healing from your Athenes. Your core items as Yuumi will always be Athenes, Ardent and Redemption because of the CDR and extra healing you get from these items. After that, going for Rabadons is not a bad choice, and if you're on the winning side of the teams, then you can also go Medjais for extra AP. AP scales really well with Yuumi, and her entire kit has a lot of AP scaling, so getting Rabadons is really effective, and it's also better because you don't die a lot, and in combination with Medjais you can get a lot of free AP from your items. To check out more item builds, you can go to blitz.gg to download and check it out there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my Yuumi guide. Thank you for watching and go kill it in solo queue.